I'm Chris Russell. When I was a judge on The New Inventors, we loved inventions that changed the game, particularly ones that transform food production. Now, Cedar Anderson and his father Stuart have done just that, simplifying honey harvesting by revolutionising the humble beehive. From living off the smell of an oily rag, they've now become multi-millionaires. But how will they cope, moving from a simple life, tinkering in a shed, to running a complex international company? This is their story.
My grandfather kept bees, my father had bees, we had bees as a kid.
We used to pull apart the beehives using my mum's old hat and veils and rubber gloves and gaffer tape and so on around their socks.
There's me and my brother Chris getting the honey out, and they'd get so ferocious that I'd just have to stand back, you know. I thought there must be a way just to tap honey straight out of the hive without opening the hive that is more gentle on the bees.
Guys, that's the first drops and it's pouring.
It's pouring in. Okay, you can see the honey absolutely pouring out there. That is amazing. The first successful attempt at getting honey out of a box without opening the hive.
Are you surprised that you've had this incredible response?
The media interest was massive. It was all over the world.
Who is here to tell us about a new beehive that makes harvesting honey a cinch.
It was then we realised that this was actually really big and we had to move really fast.
Dieses Bild hier haben wir im Internet gefunden und wir haben
We had invented the beekeeper's dream. The idea of having a 9-to-5 office job was just frightening. To me, freedom is, you know, being able to do what I'm inspired to do. It's being able to work on inventions whenever I have an idea. I sit on the toilet, I look at the toilet roll and I go, how's that dispenser working? Oh, okay. Why didn't they do it differently, you know? And that's what I did when I looked at a beehive. It's like, how does that all work? How do the bees work? How can we do it differently? How can we do it better?
When Cedar gets an idea, he's utterly tenacious. He really believes that if the human mind has worked something out, he can too.
I don't think anyone really ever told him what he had to do or that he had to pursue a certain career, and his upbringing allowed him to, you know, nurture his own natural curiosity and follow his own instincts.
A whole new wave of Nimbin pilgrims are still keen to discover an alternative to the consumptive society, a way of surviving with little.
I met my wife-to-be, Radha, at a healing festival, which is, you know, where everyone goes away with tropical ulcers and all sorts of sicknesses for those sort of healing festivals. And she was part of the group up here in northern New South Wales that wanted to form a community.
After the last festival, many stayed. Formed communes, raised their children.
All the founders of our community decided to do something different, and I'm one of the children from there. It was a fantastic way to grow up. I just loved it. It's like its own little village, really, where everybody knows everybody, and it was freedom for us. 360 acres of forest and houses and places to play and swimming in the creek.
Cedar was such a dreamer when he was little, you know. It would take him half an hour to walk, 10 minutes, because he was always lost a bit in his own little world, and he's always kind of just walked to his own groove.
We didn't have TV, and so we'd invent all sorts of things to do for fun. We built this electric shock machine. I can remember it was a hit amongst all of us kids. We'd join hands and sit around in a circle and hold onto these terminals and be getting this ding, 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 ding. Oh, the wheels still roll. My dad, he was the mechanic and the fix-it guy. Yeah, much more fun than going to school. We'd rig up the whole power system, so turbine in the creek, solar panels, batteries.
Much of the food for the 40 men and women in this community comes from the communal gardens.
It's not any particular person's garden. You know everybody and there's no stranger danger and you can just stroll around free, and that's nice. One of the best things going up here. Neither of my parents did criticism, so there was this sense of encouragement all the time that really gave me a sense of I can do anything, and this sense of not afraid to have a go.
Have they been croaking loudly, have they?
Everywhere we would go together, he would want to help people. Like, you know, we'd turn up at someone's house and their dishwasher would be broken, and he'd just always have the time of day to fix it.
Somehow I grew up not in that rat race of having to have a 9-to-5 job. And that's allowed me basically to put time into this flow hub invention.
It was a very quiet little horse. Yeah, 10 years ago, Cedar had this idea, Colin, we must be able to get honey from a beehive without opening it and extracting and stressing the bees and everything. So that's the old style of frame. And at the time I thought, whoa, you know, that is a big ask.
Now this is the tricky bit, trying to put this back on without squashing any bees. For years I tried to get honey out of honeycomb cells that were fully formed. So casting piston plungers that went down cells. You know, we want it to fit in standard boxes, we want it to be modular.
To my surprise, really I was surprised that Cedar went away and started making them.
Let's see its breaking point. All right, there it was.
That was a bit crappy. So there was stage after stage after stage of inventing this thing.
Oh, one morning I remember clearly waking up and going, it doesn't have to be honeycomb cells all the time. It can move apart and be not honeycomb cells when it's time to drain the honey.
Yeah. Cedar sat there by hand cutting some of those prototypes and, you know, painfully cutting them out, you know, because that was, you know, the cheapest way to do it.
After a few strong coffees one morning, Stu goes, oh, how about instead of in the horizontal direction, we move it like that? And straight away I dropped everything. I was like, oh.
Their minds spark off each other and there's this really beautiful connection when they're working, looking at what things work, didn't work, and they're off and they're just like, and you go, guys, I need just, I'll just leave you to it.
Cedar lives really humbly. He lives on this big bush block right next to the ocean near Byron Bay, and it's probably a good 15-20 minutes drive over rough corrugated roads and just living really in a shed, essentially, which has half of the shed's devoted to beekeeping and his little inventing space there, and then the other half is the house that he shares with his partner. You know, I think over the years he's tried to add some mod cons to it, a dishwasher and...
We actually call ourselves the Wombles of Wimbledon. Do you remember that? Making good use of the things that you find, things that the everyday folk leave behind. That was us.
I was borrowing money off family and friends. I was doing just the odd job, just enough to pay the bills, but my main focus would just be on the invention. The 2 outer cones.
I think there were times where I was wondering whether it would be successful, you know, and sort of how long we could keep going if it wasn't.
My dad helped fund the prototypes and the patents, which, you know, made it possible for Cedar and I to move ahead without running around the countryside looking for money.
There's another patent beyond this one, which isn't published.
The flow hive is a frame, a honeycomb matrix as such, built out of plastic. When the cell is filled with honey and capped off by the bees, a lever's turned and the cell splits, and the honey then drains down through the channel that makes out a tube into a jar at the bottom.
We finally had a prototype in the hive that we really hoped would work.
That's pretty full.
And it was time to test this invention. The bees had actually built onto our prototype, which was exciting.
We've got 2 levers here.
And it was time to turn a spanner on the outside of the hive and see if it actually worked.
So I'm going to do that now from here. I'm rolling it.
Wow, look, it's just starting to flow down the tube.
Oh yes, there it goes.
There it goes.
That's the first drops and it's pouring.
It's pouring in.
Hooray.
Excellent.
It's really pouring. Look at the height of it.
Yay.
Look, we've done it.
That's incredible. It's just streaming out into the trough at the bottom. Oh, look at it just filling into the jar. It's just pouring in. Could totally revolutionise the way that apiary is done today. We just laughed, didn't we? It's just unbelievable. People say inventors forget everything when they see their invention work for the first time. They forget the whole world around them. I just remember lying back on the grass and going, you know, we've done it. So we had the invention. Now it's how do we get it to market?
Even though we'd grown up as hippie children playing in the forest and that we come from that background, we're not against technology. Zeta and Stu both wanted to use crowdfunding to fund the project rather than get investors. And so crowdfunding basically is where you approach the world and put forward a video saying, this is my idea, this is what I want to make. Will you support it, donate or purchase?
Before the crowdfunding campaign began, I actually found out I was pregnant. I think it just sort of gave him a bit of a kick up the butt, really, as well. Okay, well, we've got to do this crowdfunding thing now. You know, we've got to do it before this baby comes.
Zeta was thinking sort of on a worldwide level from the word go.
All right, ready to roll?
And he had our sister Mirabai on deck. She is a professional filmer.
All right.
And so she did a bunch of the videos.
Yeah, that looks good.
That looks really cool.
Come back a bit.
Yeah.
Look at it, it's Photoshop.
We worked and we reshot and we refilmed and we tweaked because we're all learning, you know.
For those that don't know, harvesting your honey used to be a real labour of love. You had to crack the hive open, pull out the frames, trying not to squash bees, brush them off the comb, transport the frames to a processing shed, cut the wax capping off, filter the honey and clean up all the mess. Then the frames have to go back to the hives again.
We didn't know. It's like, oh, maybe it is just some crazy idea from hippies on the North Coast.
It's interesting, the bees are a little bit hungry.
And we had no idea that it would go to the level it did.
And we have been looking forward to this moment of telling the world about it.
So the crowdfunding campaign kicked off on Monday and we're hoping to raise $70,000 to set up a bigger tool in the factory.
Zeta and Stu were actually in Canberra to do the media launch. So I called in some friends who were helping out to have our little launch here at our kitchen table at headquarters. Do you want me to launch it? Yeah, launch it.
Okay, good. We're launching. Here we go.
Almost ready to go live. Now what do we do? What do we do?
Oh, no.
So this hasn't been filled out yet? So this stuff has to be filled out? We have to fill out the basics. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
All our laptops were here on the table and everyone's just sort of going hell for leather trying to do their little last-minute things, and it was just a huge buzz.
Woohoo! Is it live?
It's live.
Let's check it. Yep. We're live. We're live. Emails are going.
The target was 70 grand and we reached it in 2 minutes. That's what we needed to manufacture, and we're already there.
We overwhelmed the crowdfunding website. Broke, one of the biggest crowdfunding platforms in the world. When we had people screaming out, take our money, people were buying. They didn't even know what they were buying. It was a frenzy. It was like a rock concert. Our Facebook page was just inundated. All the product we knew we could make at our existing factory in Brisbane, we'd sold out in 15 minutes. And everyone looked around the room to each other and I said, well, what are we going to do now? And so I called Cedar up on the phone. He was in the middle of an ABC interview.
I'm in shock. I don't quite
Here's the crew ringing. It's pretty exciting.
And it's a wonderful moment. Oh, that's the team now. And they're like, you can't, you're in the middle of an interview. But it was just, it was panic stations, you know.
Then there's people jumping around in the background going, it's been 5 minutes and you've reached your target.
$200,000, guys.
I was just like, oh, this is too exciting. I can't do this interview anymore.
In 15 minutes, we'd raised $250,000 US.
We have to make sure we can deliver, so we have to add some more time to it.
You know, the fastest campaign to ever hit $1 million, the fastest to get to $2 million. And we were just shocked, you know, we didn't even have time to pop the champagne.
They're setting a crowdfunding record thanks to a revolutionary beehive innovation.
Cedar was sort of talking about things going viral, and I'm thinking, you know, darling, it's a beehive, you know. It's not a cute little kitten. It's, you know, it's probably not going to go viral.
This week, a new product hit the internet, and it's been creating a lot of buzz.
It's the most significant beekeeping innovation in decades.
But we're getting 50 new media inquiries every day.
Mich hat gestört, dass beim Ernten oft Bienen zerquetscht werden.
I would wake up at 5 in the morning and be talking to ABC Radio, and then a little bit later I'd be talking to Washington Post, and a little bit later I'd be talking to the New York Times.
I think it was 3 months of sleepless nights and thinking of all the things that had to happen and, you know, pulling in more and more people. I think in the first day we had 8 or 9 people working on the emails just trying to answer them, and as they would reply, the emails would come in pouring in.
This is a one-liner. This is, okay, go do the one-liner. This is about freezing temperatures.
It was the craziest, busiest time that's ever happened to me, being pulled and stretched in every direction, and, you know, also, you know, experienced anxiety for the first time in my life, and at the same time we're trying to have a baby. So
we're halfway through the campaign and I just kicked everyone out. I'm like, I need space, I need to nest. I thought I'd have a month, but our little darling boy came 2 weeks early.
Hey, Miras. You know how we shot the flow hive on the table rotating?
Crowdfunding, new baby, media attention, suddenly being in a very, very different world than what we were used to. You know, our lives completely changed.
We're finished. It's over.
It's over. It's done.
0 time left.
By the end of the crowdfunding campaign, we had orders from 140 different countries. We had $12.2 million US in orders. And what a dream for an inventor. Do you think we got enough orders?
That's the largest fully funded campaign ever launched outside of the US.
It's just been amazing the way all of you have jumped on board and just put in, you know, 120%.
The Flow Hive is great for attracting interest into beekeeping and the importance of bees, but if these hives become neglected, because people then lose interest quite quickly, those hives could develop disease, and that disease could spread to other colonies in the environment, and that could be very dangerous for beekeeping in this country.
We absolutely insist that you need to join your local bee group. You need to engage with the elders, you know, with the beekeepers that are already there, that have a wealth of knowledge, and it's really important to learn what you need to do to look after your hive.
After looking over the patent and doing some thinking, I have to say, I'm not a fan.
We've got a whole bunch of people really excited about it, and we've got another whole bunch of people that are really trying to slam it.
This Flow Hive product feeds into that consumer mindset of take, take, take.
Yeah, battery farming for bees is quite funny, or bee slaves, I think we've heard as well.
And of course then feelings of anxiety come up of what are we going to do, how are we going to deal with this? And in the end we decided it was best to do nothing.
You got them all from that side, they all off? because they're all off on this side.
There are a small group of beekeepers in this country who use a method they call natural beekeeping, and they're not particular fans of the flow hive system.
So here we're taking the whole comb and the honey. That's a natural way of harvesting. There we go. Great invention, a clever idea, but for the bees to build their own comb is very important. They can build the cells the size that they need. So it's a little bit harder than harvesting out of a flow hive or a conventional Langstroth hive. You have to be more careful, it's slower. So things like the plastic in the hive, we are a bit worried about. Who wants to live in a plastic environment, you know?
On one hand, we are putting something artificial into a beehive, but in doing so, we're getting a very useful, gentle way to harvest honey from a beehive. This is where the injection moulding's happening. They're making frames down over here.
So after the crowdfunding finished, you know, we had a whole new set of problems that we had to deliver this product. We had, I think, 24,500 orders sitting there waiting for somebody to deal with them. So all the money that we've raised is, we don't really know what the profit margin is.
It's been a huge logistical exercise that's still going on, not only to manufacture the various things in Brisbane and so on, but for them to be assembled and boxed and packaged and sent to people all around the world. First pallet load on its way.
Cedar has always been the type of guy who actually doesn't really know what day it is. You know, he just lives moment to moment.
Hey, morning.
Now he's running this big business.
All right, we got the new pickies up.
And he has to be at meetings on time, which he sometimes still doesn't quite get to.
Yeah, the stats are looking good.
Is this morning?
This is the mainland.
Stress is probably a new word in Cedar's vocabulary. It's not something that he's experienced before.
And we could actually break down the stats and have a look at the orders that have come in just for...
All of a sudden they're telling me I have to have an office. And I don't want an office, you know? That's my worst nightmare. But OK, we need an office, so we've got an office now. And now they want me to go to the office. And so it's this steep learning curve of OK, what do we need to run a company?
We've had this massive event, which is a huge amount of work to process in a very short time. And then parallel to that, we're trying to build, you know, we're trying to say, hey, what is our ongoing business model?
Yeah, it's really difficult, I think, for Cedar to go from, you know, trying to conserve resources and money so much for, you know, just for the sake of not affecting our environment, our planet anymore, to having to, you know, run this multi-million-dollar business and spend.
I don't like to be a consumer, right? So then when part of the team is saying, look, we need new computers, we need this, we need that.
We need new gear, we need to get proper equipment, because if you don't, you know, like, just every second counts, and, you know, very inefficient if you're working on an old and slow computer.
I'm like, well, I've never bought a new computer in my life. You can't have a new computer. What are you talking about?
So there's really been no change for him, although I do think he went out and bought a new pair of boots the other day, which is a first for Cedar.
We only charged a very small amount of shipping.
Looking like you're going to get on time?
We will be just on time.
He's just throwing himself into being, the head of this business. And he just keeps on going and going and going until you're sort of, OK, it's time to have a break. It's time to actually, we might have to be like everyone else and have a weekend. Yeah.
So how about we put the words on there and we provide them a little kit with a piece of sandpaper. I've been here in the shed for years just working on my own, and now I've got 20 amazing people to work with, but that's a real stretch. How did we ever get anywhere? I'm not used to calling the shots. I'm not used to managing people. I'm not used to telling people what to do, and it's something that doesn't come naturally and that I'm being forced to learn in a hurry.
I don't think Cedar and Stuart are really going to change their lifestyle.
Now we're about to times those issues by 25,000.
Yeah, that's right.
The money has never really been the thing for them. They've got bigger ambitions than money.
So I'm just going to make that slightly shorter then.
Cedar and Stewie are still driving their old Hilux utes, and they're running them still on vegetable oil, which is what they've done for quite a long time now. So I don't think you change those guys, no matter what you do.
It's been an amazing thing to work with my dad. To me, the most important thing is that that relationship stays strong. To me, I'd throw it all away if it was threatening our relationship.
Yeah, it's a big thing to say, but I feel the same.
You know, Stu to me has been the best dad ever, still is.
I've had people go, oh, you're working with your family, like, ooh, watch out. And I'm like, well, I think my family's different. We love each other enough and we have the ability to communicate well enough that if there was ever an issue, it would get talked about.
So many years of family having to keep this a secret. A toast to finally being able to tell the world. It is a big family project where we've involved everybody from uncles to brothers, my grandfather, my sisters, cousins.
It just hits me every now and again, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, Cedar, look what you just did. Can you believe that?
Bye, Charlie. I don't know.
It's a total roller coaster. It's euphoric.
See ya.
Even now, I pinch myself, and it still doesn't feel real. Here we go, darling boy. Here we go. Want to go on an adventure? Yeah, it's funny. I don't feel like a millionaire at all. I feel still the same as I always was.
I did ask Cedar the other day, like, darling, is there anywhere in the world you'd like to travel? You know, we could go travelling somewhere. And he's like, I'd really like to go to Fraser Island. I was like, that's doable, since it's only a couple of hours up the road. We'll go there in our ute.
Just put the lid on now, really. Try and brush them away so you don't squash them.
Just on the edges, the middle bit's alright?
Yeah, the middle's fine. Just around that rim. Lovely. Swarm in a box.